Hello everyone, hope you're all well and you enjoyed the last tutorial. So this tutorial is a follow-up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the tones with you, the tonal values. We're going to have a look at if anything is actually white on here, because a lot of the time one looks at a photograph and assumes that there's certain areas are the same white as the white of the paper, when in fact it's nowhere close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of normal cartridge. So this is printing paper, normal piece of print paper. I'm going to fold it in half, simply like that, and we're going to start comparing it. So let's have a look and see exactly what is the same white as the paper. So the reflection in her eye would be, you can see that that is the same white. Down the bottom here, it's quite stippled around her neck, this area here. So that's almost quite a similar sort of tone to the paper, but not quite. It is not entirely white. And the same as this reflection across her face, across her forehead, down the left-hand side of her, or our left-hand side of her nose and her face. And if we look at her eyes, we can see that that is not white either. However, it's a very, very similar color to what is on her neck at the base here of her chin. If we look at this little area that we highlighted, or we said was extremely light, it's a similar tonal value to what is on her neck. We take the other photograph that we analyzed and we look at this paper on her face. We can see that her nose ring is a similar color, or is white of the paper, as are her earrings. So that is what would pop. And we can see that her reflections are the same color as the paper, although that one is a different tone to those two. So that one is not. If we look at her necklace, parts of it are paper and the other parts are not. And if we were to lay this down, we can clearly see that this tonal value here on her face, this light reflection, is not white. It's completely very, very light gray, which would be your first tone. So let's do a little exercise. I thought what we could do is we could try to marry up some of these tonal values with a piece of paper. And I have Kansan. I'll show it to you in a minute. I've just pulled a page out of the pad. So I have Kansan 1557. This is one of my favorite white papers that I use. It's 180 gram, which is really nice. So it's more than 160. If you remember, I have always said that any paper over 160 is a very, very good paper to use. So that's a Kansan, and you can see that that is white. Then I've got Bristol, and you can see that this is, where does it say it is? 270 grams. I'm hoping that this is in my video. Let me just move it up. 270 grams. So this is a very, very thick, lovely paper, heavyweight, and it is a smooth surface. So this is not really my favorite, but the whole purpose of the exercise today is to see how we can get to the tonal values. So we will try either or paper and see how we manage. Right. Let's get going. I'm just putting that to one side. Let's get going. So I've got everything in the video. Let's start with this portrait. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Staedtler Mars Lumograph graphite pencils, and I'm going to start with the 2H. You know that that is what I always start with. In fact, I'm going to move this over so that you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to take my 2H, and I'm basically, all I'm going to do is I'm going to do a very, very light tone next to that part of her face. If I were to blend it, and I am just getting a blending stump, my apologies, forgot all about it. If I were to blend it, so this is the Kansan 1557 that I'm working on. If we were to blend it, let's have a look and see how close. I'm doing this area here, how close we can get to that. So blending it out with a blending stump, and that's not too bad. I do have one of those value thingamajigs, I can't remember what they're called, but they're value study and you buy them at the art shop. However, yeah, they're not that accurate. So so I've managed to get that. I think that is quite close. It could possibly go slightly darker. And here we're going to have to be very, very, very careful. We're going to hardly even touch the paper with the with the 2H pencil. Getting myself tied up in knots here. And as you can see, I'm moving over quite a large area of the paper, and that's purely so that I don't lay down too much. So we have that area, and then I'm going to blend this area. And you can see that this paper is textured. You can see that I am getting a texture on this paper. And that's why I've got the Bristol Smooth, because we're going to have a look at that in a minute. I'm hoping that this is showing up in the video. I'm hoping that you can see the difference between the white and what I'm laying down here. I'm not doing a very big area, that I do realize, because I'm trying to keep it as close as I can to the actual printout. So let me just expand that, and let me just expand this. So basically all that I'm doing is, if you remember in the first video when we spoke about pressure and we spoke about how much graphite we put down, getting to know your pencils is what that video is all about. And here I'm going even darker, laying that value down. We will go on to the darker pencils as we go, and that is the same value as her hair. All I'm trying to do is to get a very, very light tone in between, tonal value in between these tones. So let's blend all of this. So you can see that this is almost blending into the same tonal value as that, and obviously we don't want that because that hair is very, very dark. So we're going to fix that in a minute, and here I am getting a really good tone for that skin area of her cheek. And we want that these two should be the same. So let's move on to a 2B. So I'm going to use the 2B here just to get that extra depth of that tonal value, and we should start seeing it pull together in a minute. It's a very, very small area, this I know. So you can immediately see how much that has darkened by. And then I'm going to take my 6B and I'm going to run it down over this area here, which is incredibly dark for her hair, because that needs to be very, very dark. And we could probably go darker than that, but I'm building up the layers as we always do. So this is a 6B on top of a 2H. I'm not going to write the pencils down yet, although perhaps what I should do is I should write 2H, 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 because that's what we started with. And then we went to a 2B here, and we went to a 6B here. Sorry, everything is running off of my table. And a 6B and a 6B. That's just to give you a guide as to which pencils I have used, so that if you're following along and you are slightly behind me, which you will be, because obviously I know what I'm doing or going to be doing, and you are following what I'm doing. And you can see exactly which pencils I'm using. So here you can see we are already managing to get those tonal values. So if I were to use this tiny bit of graphite over that area, there we are, we've got it. So this is her hair, and we can go a lot darker in her hair. Her hair is obviously the darkest value that is on here besides other areas. I've now got a 9B in my hand, so we can strengthen that tonal value right up, and that would be the same down here. I just want to write that on there. I would actually go to the black pencils for this area, I have to say, because the black Mars Lumograph black definitely give you the blackest black, whereas with graphite, these Mars Lumograph graphite pencils, they are obviously, this is the greyest, the darkest grey that you're going to get. But you can already see that we've got the tonal values going here for that part of her face. Okay, so if we were to, I'm going to turn this piece of paper around, and if we were to look at this area here we have many tonal values. Very, very exciting indeed. And we explore, again, I'm going to use my 2H. I'm just going to put these back, the 6B and the 2B, and I am going to basically run it all the way down, because this is how I start. I mean, this is, for me, the best way to start the base of any tonal value. And I know that this is quite something to have to do across an entire portrait. So you would have to explore, and the suggestion that I gave you, where I say to you, use the shaving. So sharpen your pencil into a little container, ramekin, and use the shavings and blend them in. Remember to take a piece of cotton wool, put them on the paper and go round and round, never ever go across, because that's when you get streaks. So let me just have a look at my blending stump. I need to wipe it off. Remember, this was something else that I said to you as well when we first started, was there's always a lot of graphite on your blending stump. Look at that. You can draw with that. And now we're going to blend this, and you can see that I'm getting a lot of texture from the paper, which is not really what I'm looking for. However, if I look on this side, we managed to get rid of it. So that's what I'm hoping I manage on this side as well. So I'm just going round and round, blending it, going across the paper, texture, all the way down, making sure that I blend all of that. Right, so you can go on top with the 2H, because remember I said to you that it does fill in areas that you want smooth. So it's almost like glazing. It's like glazing with any other colored pencil over a color. It gives you a very, very beautiful glazing effect. So here you can see that we're building up that base tone, because this tonal value here is a lot darker than what we have on the cheek and that area there. So now I'm going to go to my 2B, and I'm going to build this up, because that is a sort of a mid-tone. We've got a similar sort of thing happening here, and then we've got a much, much lighter one on the top of her nose, because that would be more of a reflection, because obviously one's nose protrudes from one's face. But this is the area of your brow, that's sort of your skull, that has that slight curve. This is her hair. I'm going to put it darker in there just so that we mark it, that is darker. And this is darker. This is also very, very dark. Her nostril is very, very dark. So all I'm doing is I am just putting in the areas that are darker than what the base tone is that we've put down. Trying to match them up. Okay, that's a 2B. So let's blend it. That's obviously her hair. That's that shadow on her forehead in between her hair. And that is the shadow that forms from the forehead onto the nasal bridge. Be very, very careful when you blend, because you don't want to darken your base tonal value by transferring any of what you have on your graphite, on your blending stump across onto that area. Okay, so we still want the nose to be light. I just want to rub this off. We have a lot of pencil on here. I just want to blend this nice and smooth. So this is in between her nose and that area. Now I'm just going up over everything, just blending it all in. Okay, let's have a look and see what we get. So that is a 2H, 2H, 2H. This is all 2H, 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 and 2B, 2B, 2H, and 2B, 2H, and 2B, and 2B. And you can do this for yourself. It'll help you a lot because it'll give you all the tonal values, and you can keep it because obviously you have created this tonal value sort of chart, want of a better word. Okay, so there's her nostril, and I reckon that is probably good. There's the shadow on the edge of it, and the shadow, oops, I'm gone off, the shadow on the side, and then she's got this darker shadow across the top. So we're just going to put that in. Okay, so we've done that. She has this very, very dark section in the middle of her lips, and this is darker at the bottom because obviously there is a shadow there as her lips are very, very rounded and full. And then the top of her lip is, as I said to you before, your top lip is always in darkness, or in shadow, darkness, good grief, in shadow. And then we have this piece of hair that we can line up, and we have this hair that we can line up. There we go. And this, that is so much darker than, right. So let's see. And as I say, you can keep this for your records because, and you can play around with it because this is your tonal chart that you are busy putting together, tonal value chart that you are busy putting together for whatever face it is that you are drawing. So I'm going to go to a 9B in particular for here because we can see that is very, very dark in there. I mean, we've actually highlighted that area as being very, very dark, and we've highlighted this area as being very, very dark when we went through the portrait in the last tutorial. This is also very, very dark, so we're going to get that in. I'm going to go across here so that we've got her chin line. This is dark, this is her nostril, and I have a feeling that is a bit too dark, I feel, and I'm just going to do an edge there like that because that is what I see. Oops, I'm not holding the pencil at a very good angle. And then I'm going to darken this because this is her hair, and this is very, very dark, obviously where her hair is. So we don't really need to blend. Just be careful when you blend this, because you want to get those strands of hair. You don't want them to disappear into the rest of the tonal value chart that you are doing. I'm not happy with the nose. I'm going to have a look at that in a minute. I think I'm going to need my eraser for that. I'll just bring it over here. So I am going to use my Mono Zero eraser. Oops, that's just broken off. That's all right, because that's dirty. And I'm just going to lift out that highlight that we've got around the nostril. That's all we need to do. You can do this too, obviously. This is good learning. And I'm just going to ever so slightly lift that area around. Remember, you can always go back in and blend again. And I've taken this up too high. Taken that up too high. And then we have this highlight. So I'm going to put that in on this side, and we have a highlight here. So we're going to put that in as well. We have a highlight here on her mouth, so we can put that in. Because we are doing a tonal value chart, doesn't mean to say that we can't have a bit of fun and put in the highlights. There we go. So this is a 9B plus a 9B plus a 9B as well here and here. Oops, 9B, right. So we have basically done a tonal value chart for the side of her face and for this middle part of her face. I'm just going to lift that ever so slightly because I'm still not happy. And I'm just going to go back in with the blending stump, because the blending stump still has graphite on it, but it's not as much as using a pencil. And we can just go in there and remove that excess. The bottom, use the blending stump to get that back there again. Right, so there we go. We have managed to find out which pencils to use for these areas, these tonal values. And if I take my 7B black, so we've got the Mars Lumograph black pencil, and we go in on top of all the graphite that we've put down, we still get, because we haven't put so much on the paper that we can't add more, we still get a really nice black. A really, really nice black. We can go into a nostril here so that we don't have a reflection, and we can do it in the middle of her mouth as well, and at the bottom. You can do it on this area under her chin, because this is extremely dark. And that's what these pencils are all about. Look at the difference that that has made. 7B, I'm going to put here black in brackets. 7B black, just so that we know which pencil it is that we used. So you can see that we've used quite a few, 1, 2, 3, 4 in this area. In fact, in all of these dark areas we've used 4. However, it is what makes the tonal value pop. So explore and try out everything. Use your pencils and make yourself a tonal value chart exactly like I have done. It really does help you explore, and it also helps you, before you start drawing, that you have the correct tonal values, and you're not just laying down, mucking around willy-nilly. It really does help to plan and make sure that you have the correct pencils. Right, so now let's try this Bristol. So this is what I'm going to fold this in half because it's not an A3 and it's not an A4. It's a really weird size. So this is where I grapple. I really, I'm just going to fold it with the back of my wooden spoon here. I really find it difficult to draw on very, very smooth paper, purely because I don't like it. But the grappling part is I want to do realistic portraits. So one almost needs to use a very, very smooth paper to be able to get that smooth, beautiful, those smooth, beautiful tonal values. Right, so we're going to go back to the 2H again. And we're going to lay it down exactly like we did before, and already you can see that it's smoother. Already you can see that there's hardly any texture whatsoever in this paper. And that is really what one is looking for when you are doing hyper realistic portraits, which is what I'm wanting to do and get into. So there is a slight texture. I mean, it's not completely and utterly smooth like the other Bristol papers that I've worked with, but it really is smoother than the Kansan 1557. It's as white as the Kansan 1557, but much, much smoother. So here you can see I'm trying to lay it on a very, very light layer as I go down here. Quite difficult because this really grabs at the graphite. Right, so there's my first layer. I'm just going to rub off my blending stump, get rid of all the excess graphite that's on there, and I am going to go in and start blending. Yeah, you see, you can already see that this is a lot smoother than when I started blending on the Kansan. So immediately I can see a difference with regards to that. So there we are, we're getting very, very smooth transition and blending. And you can see that the cheek area, we are managing to achieve that incredibly light tonal value. So it may not look like there's much happening here next to the cheek, but if I were to lay down that piece of printer paper, let's just get it. You can see, okay, this paper is slightly more yellow than what this paper is, but you can see that there is a very, very nice light tonal value on there. Okay, I'm going to use the 2H again, and I think I've moved this photo over ever so slightly. Yeah, that was where we were at. I'm just going to get this tonal value here that we were trying to achieve before. So I'm doing the same thing on this paper as I did on the Kansan 1557. We're going to do the same process. Going darker, and I can see here already that I'm not really getting a massive difference like I did. I am pressing quite hard. I'm pressing even harder, but I don't really want to press much harder because I'm definitely going to damage the paper. I'm not getting a smooth gliding. It's more like digging in, which we don't want at all. I'm going to blend that. Look how beautiful that is. You see, this is what could switch me, and this is exactly why I do these experiments and play around like this, because this is how you learn which paper it is that you prefer. Or, you know, like for me, I'm going on to hyperrealism. And we can immediately see that there's a beautiful, delicate change there. I'm just going to blend that in. Beautiful, very, very delicate. So this is all a 2H. This is a 2H. 2H, 2H, 2H. Right. Now, we're going to go to the 2B because that is what we did. And I'm going to leave that because I love that. You see, we don't even need to use another layer of the 2H even, which we did do. I think we did 3 on there and a little bit of 2B. And you can immediately see how different this pencil is. This is the 2B. How different this pencil is on this paper. It's beautiful. It's gliding over it. It's almost like a glazing effect. Here we go. Quite amazing, actually. Can't believe that I'm actually enjoying this. I've tried Bristol paper before, but perhaps it was the wrong Bristol paper. Look at how beautiful that is. Look at how that is blending. That is just gorgeous. We want a definite transition between there and there. So that's a 2B. There we go. Right, so that's the 2B on top of the 2H. And 2B and 2B. So let's now go to, sorry, the nail varnish has just come off of my nail. There we go, that's there. And now we're going to try the 6B. We're going to go into the hair here. This is all dark, but it does transition. You can see that there's a lighter grey. Well, first of all, you've got this very, very light tonal value. Then you've got the mid-tone, and then you've got a deeper one, and then you've got the black. So let's try and get those 3, which wasn't so easy on the Kansan. So let's see if we can get that. So this is the 6B. And I'm going to do it the same down here because this is dark. And it really does just slide. It's a quite a strange feeling. It always feels way too smooth. But considering what we are achieving, look at that, it's absolutely beautiful. Oh my word! That is just too stunning for words. Too stunning for words. So we've still got a tiny bit of texture in there, you can see it, and I'm hoping that there is a difference. I'm just going to go over this area here a little bit more so that we can see the difference between those two. Don't want to do too much because otherwise we're not going to be able to see it, and I think I've already messed it up. Then we're going to take the 9B and we're going to put it here. And that is going on. I was just a bit worried that because it's so smooth, it won't accept more graphite, but it actually does. But the test, oh, I didn't, my apologies, I didn't blend this. A test will come in when we put the black on. And 6B. Okay. This is now the 9B, which I'm going for. Yeah, it's not really, it's added quite a bit up there, but it's not really adding much. And I don't know if there's a need to blend if I look at that. So maybe it helps lessen the load of work that one has to do. Trying to get this so that it doesn't, but they need to blend into each other, and I'm not achieving it. So that needs some practice. You can see that that's where I need some practice, because this that needs to be, perhaps I've taken the 9B down too low. So what I'm going to do is I'm taking the 9B and I'm going to do it to here. See if I can achieve that extra little bit. I think I might have done. Okay, so that is plus the 9B. And then I'm going to take the black, exactly like I did, the 7B black, Mars Lumograph black, and see if it'll lay on top of that, and it does. Look at that. So this paper is able to take quite a bit of layering, because that's 1, 2, 3, and now 4, and now we're putting on the 5th pencil. So that's not bad at all. And I've put this 9B on here really thick. I'm not sure that I would really draw like that, but not knowing this paper very well, it was a mistake that I did make. Instead of having a light hand, I think I went in too quickly. Yeah, there we go. It is layering on top of it quite well. I mean, that's quite a difference. Then I just want to rub off my blending stump. And then, yeah, that's blending quite well. Look at that. Although it is making it shiny, I think, which it shouldn't be. Try to see if it is shiny. Yes, it is. It's gone shiny. So that means that the graphite underneath, the normal graphite underneath, is pulled through onto the black, which should not be. So perhaps what we should be doing, let's have a look and see. Perhaps we should do a 2H base. So I'll wrap this off. Yeah, look at all that graphite on here. This is what I love about blending stumps, because they become a drawing tool themselves. You can just blend that out like we did. And then I'm going to go straight in with the Mars Lumograph black. That's better. Yes, we are. We're getting a much, much blacker black. Right, so that is what needs to be done. So with this here, and this is what we want to achieve, so we can go straight in after we've laid down the 2H. We can go straight in on top of that, so that's good. Just want to see what happens when I blend it, because we can do another layer on top of this one. Yep, that's looking good, and that's black, and it's blacker than what I have here. It's closer to that tone. So this is what I mean by trying things out. This is exactly what it will give you. So there we go. So that is much, much closer than what this is. And even here, I would do the same thing for all of these pitch black parts. So this is, gosh, where's my 2H? There it is. So this is a 2H and a 7B black, and that works well. That looks fantastic. Okay, I'm going to quickly cut this, and we're going to go into the other part of her face. There we go. So we're going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to lay it down exactly where we did. And now what we've learned that where these very, very black parts are, we need to go straight in with the black Mars Lumograph pencil and not muck around layering like we did on the Kansan. In fact, I'm pretty sure we could do the same thing on the Kansan, because those black areas really are black. Okay, so I'm going all the way down here, and this is a darker tone than what that is. So I don't need to be worrying too much about the pressure of my pencil as I go down this part of her face. Because this tonal value is the mid-tone and then the darker tone. There are probably about 5 tones on this portrait. Okay, let's blend it. I'm first going to clean my blending stump because obviously we've just used it for black. And now I'm going to blend the entire, and you can see it blends a whole lot faster than what the Kansan does, that's for sure. And that's because it's so smooth and there's not much texture on it. So there we go, got up to the top. And you can see I'm not really taking much notice of whether I go round and round and round or whether I go sideways. I seem to still be getting quite a smooth blend. Okay. Right, now we're going to go in with our 2B. Just here, these darker areas. We want to get a nostril in. So I'm going to put that in. And that whole area is dark. But that I'm just deepening so that I can remember that that is her nostril. And then we've got this beautiful dark area here in the middle of her lips, which we all have, that deep shadow, because obviously that's where her lips have closed. I'm going to do very, very light here and go a bit more pressure on the bottom so that we can get that, those two different values. And then this is the same value on top here. Okay, so we've done that, and then we've got the hair that comes out. Now you see I'm already doing the wrong thing because I'm so used to the Kansan. So here with the hair, we can just go straight into the black and get that value in. I just want to use the side of the pencil. I'm trying not to cover the video, and I'm trying to do this without moving the paper as well. So do forgive me if anything goes wrong. So I'm going to do that for her hair. I've got this darker area at the top, and then we have this dark area under her chin. So I've gone straight in with the Mars Lumograph black. That's what I've done on top of the 2B, because that's what we learnt from the last. And I should have done it here too, because that nostril is very, very dark, and that's what we want to get. And look at how gorgeous that is looking. That is beautiful. Oh my word. I might be leaning towards this paper. Certainly worth giving a bash for a hyper-realistic portrait. Right, let's see what we get. So now I'm going to blend this, because this is, you can see that that's a much, much softer area. And then it goes into forehead, and I left out that shadow that is here, this area. So I'm going to use what's on my paper stump, and it's working. Getting it done. It's working. That we know is her nostril, and we want to go out here with some shadow. So So now we're drawing with the paper stump because we have that bit of black on the paper stump, and that just looks amazing. Look at what we are achieving. It is beautiful. Look at that. Just absolutely beautiful. Okay, so I've gone a bit mad here with this paper stump, sorry. I went up here. But look at what we've achieved. Look at these beautiful, that shadow there we can use our paper stump for. This shadow going up here goes into her eye, we can use the paper stump for. We can actually literally pick up from this black and draw with our paper stump into those areas. Just make sure that you get it extremely smooth. And obviously you would have the 2H. You'd have the 2H underneath it. I haven't done that. So that's the difference. But all of this has got 2H underneath it. In fact, I'm going to do this. 2H. Like that. And then we're going to have, what was it? The 2B. This here. 2B and 2B. This was also 2B. And then we went straight in with the black here. 2H and 7B black. So here you could glaze on top of it to get that, yeah, here we are too, we're getting an even darker black. This is working extremely well. Oh, might be converted, people. Might be converted, which would be absolutely awesome. So I can see hyper-realistic portrait loading. And here we can demarcate the hair. And that shadow that we have there, we can go back in and soften that on the bottom of her lip. Can soften this back up into the chin. And this shadow is a bit more pronounced than what I have. So we'll just do that with a paper stump. Yeah, I mean, it's just actually quite beautiful, the effects that we are getting here. So I hope you have enjoyed this as much as I have. I love experimenting and I love discovering new things. 2B and 7B black. Make notes for yourself like I am, because you can put them together and then you can refer back to them. So this is for the side of her, you just remove that. That's for the side of her face here. And this one, obviously with having the nose and everything, is for the middle panel of her face. So you keep those to make sure that you have references to work to. And here we have the Kansan, and that's obviously the middle of her face that we worked on. And then we have the side of her face that we worked on with all the notes next to it. And yes, that will help you decide which you prefer and which you don't prefer. So I do hope that you have enjoyed this, everybody, as much as I have. And I hope that you will experiment and that you will try this out and have as much fun as I have. And perhaps you learn something that I have not touched on here. Please put it in the comments. And please subscribe to my channel. It really does help me grow it and keep it going. Thank you, everybody. Have an awesome day. Bye.